What is communism? According to David Elliott, communism is an international political movement and a political and economic system that has its origins in the philosophy of Karl Marx. Also referred to as Marxism, it is a socialist philosophy that calls for an international revolt of workers against capitalism to bring about a workers' utopia.
But in the most basic sense, communism is when all manufacturing or means of production are equally owned by all the members of a state. The intended result is to eliminate the capitalist-inspired class system where one class does all the work and the other gets all the money. Although similar ideas have existed both naturally and intentionally since the dawn of time, the most common form of communism comes from the work of German philosophers Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels.
Who created communism? Karl Marx is the founder of communism. Marx and Engels drafted their famous Communist Manifesto for a group of German immigrant workers known as the Communist League living in London, England. That pamphlet was intended for a wilder audience than Marx's more densely theoretical works and provided a clear exposition of the vision of revolutionary social change that he had developed. In the Communist Manifesto, Marx employed his concept of dialectical materialism to history and that argued that class struggle was the essential force driving forward historical progress. Karl Marx died of lung abscesses.
Karl Heinrich Marx, the father of Marxism, was born on May 5, 1818 in the Kingdom of Prussia, part of the German Confederation.
His grandfathers on both sides came from lines of famous rabbis, but his own father had converted to Protestantism, given the barriers to Jewish involvement in society as full citizens.
In 1835, Marx left home to attend the university, where he became fascinated with the teachings of German philosopher G.W.F. Hegel.
He had a full and exciting life, but was captivated by these big ideas coming from Hegel about what determined the path of a society of human civilization.
Between 1843 and 1845, Karl Marx forged two relationships that changed the course of his life.
One was to his wife, Jenny von Westphalen, who came from the Prussian aristocracy. A happy marriage, 7 children. And the other was his intellectual bonding with Friedrich Engels, who brought to the relationship a set of experiences and knowledge that really opened Marx's eyes to new approaches.
In 1848, Marx and Engels laid out their concept of socialism in their most famous work, the Communist Manifesto.
Issues that communism created. Cold War. Though the competition between the United States and the Soviet Union stopped short of open warfare, numerous incidents and crises demonstrated the seriousness of the rivalry, which became known as the Cold War. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Considered the climax of the Cold War was between the Soviets and the United States, standoff between U.S. and Soviet Union in which the Soviet Union stationed nuclear missiles in Cuba 100 miles away from Florida.
A number of reasons have been put forth as to why communism hasn't worked out historically. But the strongest criticism of the philosophy is that communism removes the incentive for people to work harder than they absolutely have to. It also leads to resentment of those who work less hard but receive the same. In general, communism is described as being great in theory while disastrous in practice. And the state of the world seems to agree with that assessment.
As we can tell, communism is great in theory but doesn't work out. As for the Soviet Union, it has collapsed because communism does not work.